Hello. Hello, everyone. Good evening. And for those of you in the UK, I would say a pleasant good night to you. My name is Cindy Placid. Welcome to Poetry and Perspective with Placid. I am your kind hostess. Tonight, tonight, I'm going to take off my glasses. I cannot stand the glare, so I'm going to try without my glasses. Today, we have a very interesting guest with us. Um, it is just, I mean, I can't wait for you guys to hear her story. But before we do that, I would like to say welcome to all my viewers from all over who are watching, whether you be watching this live or you'll be watching this later. I welcome all of my viewers to the live show. Thank you for being a part of Poetry and Perspective with Placide. Welcome. Listen, Poetry and Perspective with Placide is here to promote, to inspire, to empower. Poetry and Perspective with Placid is here to bring the stories to light that no one has told, and to hear that common people have different stories that can motivate us, inspire us to be our best, to help us continue going. I'm here to promote people. I'm here to inspire people, and I am here to give people a push. Okay, the best that I can. I am a mother of five children, and that includes my daughter-in-law, my adopted son. I have two amazing live sons, which Kyle and Noah, and I have my deceased daughter, Isabel. I advocate for autism because my fourth now 14-year-old son was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2. So I advocate for autism. I advocate for thanatophoric dysplasia. That's what my 2-month-old daughter died from. They considered it a rare form of dwarfism, and so she passed away from that. And I never got to bring her home. And I advocate for mental illness because after everything that happened, I literally lost my mind, and so I was diagnosed with mental illness, and so I am advocating for that to help people understand that they are not alone in the struggles, that life continues, and that we all need to know that we are not alone in our grief. We are not alone in our struggles. There are so many of us going through similar things, if it is not, even if it is not the same situation, but it's similar feelings, similar, situations. So we are here to bring these stories to light. So I am an author of two amazing books. My first book is entitled uh my first book is entitled When Life Stood in Silence. And that book is a book of poetry. Actually, I'm a poet. So it is a book of poetry, and it was born from the grief and the loss that I was going through at the time. And so I put all my emotions and all my feelings, everything into that book. And it has a little bit of everything, but the main theme is grief, loss, everything you could think of that somebody could go through. It's in there. So I allow that book gives people a chance to say how they feel without having it to tell to anybody. You can just read my book and it could just speak to you. My second book is entitled A Mighty Calm. Okay, and this book is basically an uprising from the grief to find myself, to find my purpose, and to know who I am, and to be able to know that there are people out there like me who need that little push, that helping hand. And so that's what it's all about. On that show, I do not discuss the in depths of politics nor religion. There is no problem in somebody quoting a scripture and say what their God has done for them. But the in depths of politics and religion, I don't discuss it here because I believe everything has a time and place, and I will not discuss that on this show. So I just want to make that clear. And I just want to say my guests and my viewers have been really, really, really respectful. And I just want to say a big shout out to all of my guests and all of my viewers who have been on here. Thank you so much for respecting, these rules, actually rules. Yes. So tonight we are gonna. Oh, this is. Let me show you before I go. This is my first book. My When Life Stood in Silence. So you can find my books on my website, cindyplacid.com. Okay. I'm also an entrepreneur, so I make candles. So you could go to risetoprosperity.com, and I'm gonna put it on later for you to see. So we could talk about you could see what I'm doing. I have a lot of projects in the work. So hey, I have a lot of things going on. So today we're talking to a beautiful lady who is from the same place that I am. And of course I know you know what I'm talking about. Hey, look at all these pictures there. I'm not getting to the right one. Okay, let me see. Listen, guys, I'm a hot mess. Okay, so this is where I'm from, and this is where this lady is from. The beautiful, beautiful Caribbean island of Saint Lucia. We are jam, okay? I would say we cut above the rest, okay? We know for hospitality. So I'm from the south of the island, and my guest is also from Saint Lucia, and she's gonna be telling you about her story. And she's in the healthcare industry. And so without further ado, let me welcome my guest, Miss Samina James Cepal. I hope I say that right. I hope I did. So welcome, welcome to Poetry and Perspective with Placide. How are you doing, my darling?
I am well. I'm well. It's been a long day, but I am well.
I totally understand. Wow. So, what time is it? Is it in Birmingham?
It's 10:13
Oh my gosh, I have
p.m.
you up. I have you up. Okay. So let me say, before I continue, let me say hello to my guest, Delma Bedwood is watching. Welcome to Poetry and Perspective with Placide. And I don't know who else is watching. Welcome to Poetry and Perspective with Placide. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Where you from? And I already told them you're from the beautiful Caribbean island of St. Lucia, but you have so many little nice little towns and villages. So tell us where you're from, a little bit about your background growing up and life in St. Lucia.
So, my name is Samina, as Cindy said. I'm straight out of Agad, Castries. Straight out of Agad.
Big up Castries
Um,
and Agad.
I went to Bocage Primary School,
Mm-hmm.
and then I went to St. Joseph's Convent.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I have one brother, one sister, a mother, a father.
Mm-hmm.
That was growing up. Yeah. What else? After SJC, I went to Sir Arthur where I did nursing.
Mm-hmm.
I subsequently went on to do a bachelor's in health administration
Mm-hmm.
and a master's in public health.
Okay.
Um, Along the way, I got married.
Mm-hmm.
Along the way, I had two wonderful sons.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, so that's me in a
That's
nutshell.
wonderful. Wonderful. So you have been in the healthcare industry for a while, and you're still in the healthcare industry.
Yes, I
Okay.
am. I've been a nurse for June is my 25th anniversary of being a nurse.
Wow, that is amazing. That is amazing. Listen, kudos to you, honey, because a lot of people, would not stay in a profession so long. They're always looking for something different. I don't know if I'll be able to stay. Oh my hey. Jamila Silis, good night. Maria Modest, good night. Hi. The safe out. So Maria Modest says good night. And Jamila Silis. I don't know what's going on with my internet. It's trying to get me slow, but listen, hey, it making me fast forward. Listen. Okay, so I know a few people in the healthcare industry, and I would say kudos to you guys because you in the healthcare industry. You guys are doing such an amazing job because it takes. I think it takes a lot of schooling and it takes a lot to be a nurse. Am I correct me if I'm wrong?
I don't even think the schooling is the hardest part. It's dealing with humans. That is the hardest part to me.
Okay, wow.
The
So
work,
what?
the work
Go
just
ahead.
comes naturally after a while.
Uh huh. Okay, wonderful. So tell me about what um oh my gosh, I lost my train of thought. I was gonna ask you, tell me what you do as a nurse. What's your area of expertise?
So now I'm actually working at a care home. Um, I work on the nursing floor.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the manager of the nursing floor. I work with older people, dementia, persons who are sick, just name it.
Mm-hmm.
We do it. So nursing is just my passion. I don't know if I will ever be able to get away from it,
Mm-hmm.
whatever aspect it is.
Mm-hmm.
But nursing, that's me.
And it's important that we have a passion and a love for what we do, because it makes the work so effortless. It makes
Yeah,
it so
yeah.
effortless. And I have Jamila Silizabeth. I think she's a nurse as well. So I kudos to you guys, because I don't know, with all that, there's blood and there's injections. I don't know if I'll be able to do it. I don't know, girl. I don't know. Listen, I was an injection. I have to take deep breaths. Okay, so kudos to you. So with that said, I want to say, I know the nurses they passed already. Hold on, my internet is going cuckoo again. Okay, I'm back. So I don't know, this is acting so crazy today. I was saying, I know the nurses day passed already, but I say happy nurses day to all the nurses. I applaud you guys for the work that you do. And then take care. Jamila said it takes a lot of patience to do that job. Huh? Yes, I can see. My grandmother used to tell me, my grandmother used to say, you could feed a red ant with a spoon. Me, not me. You all can feed a red ant with a spoon. I won't be. Okay, so tell us about I know you had various close calls. But tell us a little bit about you had a few diagnoses which was not very appealing. So tell us about your first diagnosis with thyroid disease. What tell us what happened when you found out, and what is that like?
So when I got diagnosed with thyroid disease in 2006, there were a number of things that preceded that. Um, I lost weight. I was skinny. My heart was racing all the time. I wasn't sleeping. I was constantly agitated for no reason. I
Mm-hmm.
remember my hands were shaking. They were sweaty. Um, the thing with thyroid disease, though, is that, uh, and I'm a nurse, so I could tell you this.
Mm-hmm.
Persons tend to think that the symptoms are not real. Persons tend to think
Mm-hmm.
that it's something that you make up, that you're just crazy. So there's a
Mm-hmm.
very fine line, a very, very fine line between what the perception is
Mm-hmm.
and everything else that happens with thyroid disease. So um, I had got, in as much as I was a nurse, I had gone to doctor after doctor, and they just couldn't figure it out until my throat started getting big. I started getting what we call a goiter.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a nurse who worked with me in the ER, like way, way, way back. And one
Mm-hmm.
night he looked at me and he said to me, but he said it in patois. He said to me, "You know your eyes growing?"
It's great.
I mean, he said it as a joke, but when
uh,
he said it, you know, it was at that point we realized that I have a goiter, my eyes are bulging. So those were some of the classic signs of thyroid disease. And that in and of itself was really, really difficult. I had many close calls. I spent time in ICU. I had thyroid storms. I
mm-hmm.
mean, I speak about this now, and those were difficult moments, but
I can
Cindy, those were the
imagine.
easiest moments of my life.
Wow. Wow. So
Those were
please, if
difficult moments, but I would go back in that direction any day, as compared to some of the things that came subsequently.
wow. So first, before we get to those things, which we're gonna get into, explain to the audience what thyroid disease is.
There's so many aspects to thyroid disease.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, there's a hormone
Mm-hmm.
that is produced in your body. Mine was just producing too much.
Okay.
So I was eating a lot. I was My metabolism was like through the roof. I was losing
Mhm.
weight. I wasn't sleeping. It's like your body goes into this heightened sense of needing to do things, needing to do things, needing to do things. You don't need to sleep. You could just go, you could work. I remember I think I worked like 13 shifts straight. I didn't need to
What?
sleep. You don't even feel the tiredness, but you trembling, you shaking, you can't. I remember I remember at one point trying to put in an IV infusion for somebody, and my hand was just shaking. My hand was just shaking. I didn't know why. And you feel like your speech is pressured. It
Mhm.
was just a lot. So thyroid disease, it was an overactive thyroid that I had, hyperthyroidism. Thankfully, uh, I was treated. I had radioactive iodine, uh, which wasn't offered in St. Lucia, so I had to travel to Trinidad, I think, uh,
Mhm.
3 times for 3 different. I had radioactive iodine on 3 different occasions, but again, as I said, and I'll continue to say, those were the easy moments of my life.
Wow.
Um, my thyroid was knocked out. So then I went from being hyperthyroid to being hypothyroid. So then your body slows down. And well, from then until I'm no more, I have to take medication. But you know what? I have to drink water every day. I have to eat every day. I have to use the toilet every day. It's no issue
Mhm.
taking 3 tablets every day. Well, as long as I remember.
Yes.
Yes.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow. Okay, so you said that was the easiest. Okay, oh my gosh. So
Those were the easiest moments of my life.
okay, yes. So after that, you got treatment. You got treatment, and then obviously you
Yeah.
got better, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So,
I mean, it had its moments. There were high moments, there were low moments. There were moments that um my thyroid would just not it took years, years, years for my thyroid to settle.
mm-hmm,
But I got a handle on it. So I was
mm-hmm,
diagnosed with thyroid disease in 2006. I
mm-hmm,
want to believe somewhere about 2008.
mm-hmm.
Um, my house got burnt.
Oh wow.
I was married. I had my 2 sons. That was 2008. We renovated the house, fixed it. In 2010,
Mm-hmm.
I lost that same house to the Hurricane Thomas.
Oh my goodness.
Lost that house altogether. My then husband fell the night of Thomas. He hit his head, fractured his skull. All of this is going on, and there's a hurricane going on outside. We couldn't get him to the hospital until like 12 hours after. So that was just all in a short space of time.
Wow.
Now, the thing with thyroid disease is that with it comes a certain amount of depression,
Mm-hmm,
hypothyroidism especially.
mm-hmm,
So whereas I went through the actions, I did those
mm-hmm,
things I had to do to exist.
mm-hmm.
I dealt with the fire. I dealt with the hurricane. We bought a new house. Those things are physical. Those things you have control over. As
Yes.
difficult as those moments were, you could see how it can be fixed. Yeah.
Yes.
Um, After the hurricane and all of that, we settled. I went to Cave Hill, Barbados, to do my
Mm-hmm,
master's in public health in 2012. I
mm-hmm,
think that was just me recovering from a lot of what had happened.
mm-hmm.
When I finished in 2013, subsequent to that, I could feel the depression coming on. And it wasn't something that I spoke about.
Mm-hmm.
You have to appear a certain way. You have to
Yes.
be professional. I'm the nurse. I'm the
Yes.
wife of an educator. I'm the mother of two handsome boys. You just have to play the role sometimes. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that we do is that we go through life wearing a mask. Well, listen, I broke that mask. And
Wow.
a lot of the time, you absolutely have to break it. But before I broke it, it was absolutely difficult. Subsequent to that, like by 2014, I got depressed.
Mm-hmm.
I got so depressed that I became numb. I went through the motions, I went through the actions of life, but I was numb. I couldn't figure out things. I was in autopilot essentially. So
Mm-hmm.
I just did what I had to do. I had to take care of my sons, I had to take care of my husband. I went through the motions. And I was very ashamed about this previously. Now
Mm-hmm.
I speak about it because it was the foundation for what kept me. In 2017, I tried to kill myself. In 2017, I drank Gramazone. They were just waiting for me to die. I went to the hospital. Um, those were hard moments. I didn't think I would wake up. I didn't think I would see the next day. I didn't think tomorrow would come. At that point, I couldn't say that I wanted to live. I didn't want to live. I didn't want to die. It was a whole lot of numbness. It was a whole lot of fear, panic. It was just a lot of things. They just culminated. And I really didn't know how to deal with it. Um, somehow, the higher power, he saw it fit to save me. He saw it fit to carry me through. Those experiences, they were difficult.
Let me catch
They,
a
they
breath a
were
little bit.
difficult.
Let me catch a breath. I'm crying because I could relate to you trying to kill yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I could relate to the part of suicide because it took me back to where my little boy, my first son was 27 years old. No, sorry, my first son was he's 27 now, but my first son was only like about a year or two. I think it was about a year. And I felt that I couldn't deal with life anymore. I had been through so much, and then I took Gramaxon for me to drink that Gramaxon. And it was the person who I called, and I could never forget that person. It was the person who I called, and I said, if anything happens to me, you know where my son father lives. Come take care of him. And I put the music on and at full blast. I put the music on full blast. And I was ready to drink that Gramason, and this man broke down that door. So it hurts because too many of us have been there. Too many of us have been there. And I'm so sorry that you had to go through that.
Yeah. But
Let me
really,
let
as I
yeah.
said, those things created the foundation for the person I'm able to be today.
Amen. Amen. And that's what we're going through all of these things myself, dealing with suicide and dealing with mental illness. It created a foundation for me to be who I was today and who I am, the woman I've become today. And then, yes, those experiences are bad in itself, but they teach us lessons as long as we are willing to grow out of it. Let me say hello to some of our viewers because a lot of our viewers are really commenting. So we have Kadiana is there. Hi, Kadiana. We have Morgan Junkie. Hi, Morgan. We have what do we have? We have Ninfia. Hi, Ninfia. Nettie. Oh wow, my girl Nettie is here. She's always North Carolina, I think. Yeah. And we have Joviet. Yeah, we have yeah, I think that's what we have so far. And we have Anissa Iriste Novice, you know that person? And we have yeah, I think that's the person. Marcia Novice. Oh my gosh, my eyes are still I'm still crying because I could see you in that place. I could see you in that place. Okay. Whew, I've breathed now. So continue.
So that was 2017. That was April 11th, 2017.
Mhm.
Um, as I said, well, obviously I survived. Um, by then, I wasn't working as a nurse anymore. I couldn't work. I don't know. Depression is real. It was real, real, real. Um, so that was 2017. By 2018, sis was doing well. I had
Mhm.
gotten back to working, figuring it out, looking after myself, sorting out life, working out every day, looking after my children. Um, my pap smear was due. I wasn't one to miss. I wasn't one to not do my pap smear. I had done it the previous year. Um, I went to the Castries Health Center, and the nurse who was working there, my friend Beverly, I called her prior. It was my day off, and I said to her, Bev, I need to do a pap smear. She said, girl, come. I said, what time? We were colleagues. We went to nursing school together. She said, girl, is you, just come.
Mhm.
So I went. When I went, she asked, when was your last period? You know, the regular questions.
Yes.
We were happy, we were laughing, we were joking because, I mean, we go to nursing school, we lived not too far from each other growing up. So we were just gaffing, like my friend would say.
Mhm.
And in the middle of doing the pap smear, her face just changed. Now I know her. She said
Mhm.
to me, I thought you said you weren't getting your period. I said, girl, I'm not getting a period. She said, but you're bleeding. I said, what do you mean I'm bleeding? She stopped. She said, I can't continue with this pap smear. She went downstairs. She called the doctor. The doctor came. And at that point, there was this look of concern on everybody's face.
Mhm.
They asked me to go to do an ultrasound and come back. But you know how our little island is. I couldn't get the ultrasound done that day.
Mhm.
So I had to get it done the following day. But that was a long, hard afternoon because I'm a nurse, and to see that level of concern on the face of the person doing it and the doctor who came. So the following morning at before the office opened, I went to my gynecologist and I explained to him what had happened. Um, so he decided that he would do an examination. Before the examination was over, there was another nurse colleague who also worked with him. She was my friend Natalie. Natalie was in the other room. He went, he called her, he looked at me, and I saw water coming out of his eyes. And he said to me, this is not something I do without doing the necessary tests, but I'm convinced that you have cancer. Well, I remember he did a biopsy. I remember taking the stuff. He said to me, I need you to take this to the lab now. I have a memory of taking the sample from him. I have a memory of walking out. I have a memory of almost getting hit by vehicles about 3 times, leaving the doctor's office and getting to my car. I couldn't even remember where my car was parked. I drove to the hospital. I dropped off the sample. I went home and I started to cry. And I cried and I cried and I cried and I cried. I called my mother. I said, Mommy, this is what's happening. Call daddy. I said, this is what's happening. And I wasn't sure. I didn't have confirmation. I called the people who mattered the most. I told them what was happening. Later that afternoon, I did ultrasounds. Um, by the biopsy was done. So within 2 weeks of
Mhm.
now, this was the 17th of December. So you know
Mhm.
Christmas is coming.
Yes.
Making my Christmas plans. By Christmas, I knew that I had cancer. By Christmas, I knew that my life would never be the same. By Christmas, I knew that I needed maybe about $40,000 to get treatment, and I needed to do it now. I didn't hide my diagnosis, I didn't hold it back. I spoke to all the people who mattered. Um, January 1st, 2019, I started the year with chemotherapy. Um, Chemotherapy was hard. At least at that time, I thought chemotherapy was hard. The oncologist and the gynecologist said to me, I need you to have chemotherapy and radiation at the same time. I went to Guyana and they were absolutely amazing at that place. So for 8 weeks, I had treatment. I had chemotherapy once a week and I had radiation 5 days a week. That entailed not wearing underwear for 8 weeks, not bathing for 8 weeks. Radiation hurts after you've done it for a while. I remember there was a little girl who was staying where I was, and she said to me, Auntie, why are you smelling? That was the smell of being burnt from radiation. My mother was in Guyana with me, and I said to her, I feel sick. I feel so sick. And she said to me, you are sick. But somewhere in my head, I know that I had already cheated my family. I know that I had already cheated death by trying to kill myself the year before. And I decided that I would fight. I decided that I would fight with every part of my being to get through this. I had something else called brachytherapy. Now, brachytherapy is easily the most painful thing I have, the most physically painful thing that I have ever experienced. Way worse than giving birth. Um, I had 3 sessions of brachytherapy. I was weak. I was pale. I couldn't eat. I was skinny. I was bald. I had a big bald head. Um, but I carried it.
Was it in that photo right here?
Oh yeah, that there was me at my lowest. That there was me at my lowest.
When you send that
That
photo
day,
to me, when you send that photo to me, I started to cry. I never said anything to you. I started to cry. The same way when Katie and I was on this, and she sent me some photos, I started to cry. But this photo, I saw your pain. I felt your pain. It was written all over your face,
I think
in
that's
your
the day I told my
eyes.
mother. I told my mother I felt sick. I felt tired. I felt as if I just couldn't continue with treatment on that day.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing I think that happened on that day, I was supposed to have chemotherapy, but I was too sick to have it. So I couldn't have that session of chemotherapy.
Wow.
And I pushed through. My first son, I
Hold up
finished.
1 second. Hold on. Oh, me,
Mhm.
I'm a crybaby. Okay, I'll tell you. I I I am applauding you. My heart is applauding you. Everything in me is applauding you, and I'm sure the viewers applauding you for your bravery so far. You went through terrorism. Okay, is it terrorism? Is it? You went through thyroid
Hyper
disease.
and hypo, yeah, thyroid disease.
Yes. And let me jog your memory for a little bit, guys, because I have this slide. I make sure that I found this slide to help you understand some of the symptoms. So, and these are not pretty symptoms, okay? They are not pretty symptoms. I put it on here. So I'm gonna let me blow it up. It says hypothyroidism, right? Hypothyroid, hair loss, fatigue, sensitive to cold, constipation, increased cholesterol, weight gain, dry skin. Okay? It says fine brittle hair, trouble sleeping, excessive sweating. It's almost like you're going through menopause too. Weight loss, high blood pressure. So that's hypo. You had hyper.
So let me help you with this slide, right?
Yes,
I
please.
started with I started with hyperthyroidism, fine brittle hair, trouble sleeping. Remember I told you that I wasn't sleeping, I was
Yes,
just
yes.
working. Excessive sweating. I got really skinny. Well, my blood pressure didn't go, it wasn't bad.
Uh-huh.
Anxiety. My hands were always sweaty. My body was always sweaty.
Yes.
And I got really, really skinny. Now, this was an overactive thyroid. When I got treatment for that overactive thyroid, I then developed hypothyroidism, which is an underactive thyroid. Now, at many stages in this journey, I had to rock a ball head because my hair would just come out in patches. When I became hypothyroid, I was tired all the time. I was so tired sometimes to the point where my speech was slow. I would speak very, very slowly. Constipation, you know that. If you ate guava, a lot of guava growing up, you know that.
Yes.
Weight gain. There were times that I got so big, so heavy. And well, that dry skin story there, my best friend is still having trouble with me on that dry skin, telling me, you need to moisturize, you need to moisturize, you need to moisturize. So, thyroid disease in and of itself is really a battle, but not
So
one of my
it
more
left.
difficult battles.
Did it leave you with side effects? Did it have like lasting effects?
Um, the truth is, I saw thyroid disease as something that I could fight. I saw me being able to come back from it. And if I don't take my medication that I'm supposed to take every day, I take 300 micrograms of levothyroxine every day. Now, um, most persons have never even heard of that high dose. Persons take at most maybe 100, 150.
Mm-hmm.
As a nurse, I do not think in my 25 years of nursing I've ever met anybody who is taking more than 200 micrograms of levothyroxine, but I take 300 micrograms. And if I don't take that, I get sick. If I
Wow.
don't take it, I get slow. If I don't take it, I cannot function. So, as I told you earlier, I just take my three little tablets in the morning.
Gotta keep moving.
And that's it. Keep going no matter what is happening. It's my aim, it's my theme in life. It's my just keep going. Just keep going.
You were determined to fight, and you're fighting.
I
So now
am.
you
I
went
don't have a
from
choice anymore.
hyper and hypo to being diagnosed with cervical cancer, right?
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. Now, um, cancer treatment, eh? When I think about cancer treatment, I guess some of the things that happened after treatment makes the pain feel less. But Cindy, every aspect of that, I think for about 5 weeks, I couldn't eat. Now, where I was staying, they offered me everything. What do you want? What can I bring you? Everything I requested, I got. But when it got to my mouth, I just couldn't eat. I had no appetite. I couldn't smell anything. So, chemo and radiation takes so much from you.
Mm-hmm.
Then I couldn't go out in the sun. I wasn't allowed to go out in the sun because of radiation. But Dr. Cyan, bless him, he was just so amazing. And I don't remember the nurse now, but I remember the doctor. I remember the first time I went for a consult. He called me into his office. I went alone. I went alone first. He said, he spoke to me very nice, but so matter of fact. He said, "Oh, you'll never have a period again. You'll never have the desire for sex again." And I'm looking at this man and I'm saying, "Okay, all right." Um, and that's the thing. He was just so matter of fact. And he said to me, he looked at my
Yes.
age. I was 42 when I started cancer treat. 42,
Mm-hmm.
I think, for 41 or 41, somewhere about there. Because my 42nd birthday, yes, my 42nd birthday, I celebrated in Guyana in the middle of treatment. I remember I was in my night dress and my mother and a few people, they were there trying to have a drink, trying to get me to drink some grape juice. And Dr. Cyan looked at me and he said, "You are young. You could beat this. So I'm going to hit you and I'm going to hit you hard." Every aspect of treatment was hard, as I have said before. Every single part of it was hard. Um, but I kept thinking, you tried to kill yourself in the past, so you cheated, so you will fight this and you will remain strong for the kids.
Mm-hmm.
And my son Chaz, he would call me. He would say, what is the doctor saying? Don't tell me, um, tell me, is it 50-50? Is it 60-40? He wanted to know, exactly what it was. So I fought for those children. And my treatment was scheduled to be finished on the 14th of March 2019. Um, and um, encounter with the doctor, my final visit was meant to be on the 15th. So on the 14th, when I had my final treatment, he said to me, "Come back to my office tomorrow, come back to see me." Um, when I went back to Friday, I kept thinking, tomorrow my son is going to be 18, and here I am in Guyana, and he's at home. So I bravely asked the oncologist, "Can I travel home tomorrow?" And my
Mm-hmm.
mother left, and somebody else was supposed to come to stay with me. The oncologist, now, the flight was difficult. The flight was difficult, yeah, because there were no straight flights to Guyana at the time. So I had to travel 2 hours to Barbados,
Mm-hmm.
stay over in Barbados for maybe 2 hours, and then go home. I said to the doctor that Friday morning, "I need to go home." He said, "Once you think you're strong enough to make the flight go," sure enough, Saturday morning, I couldn't walk properly. I was still burnt all over. My head was hurting because for brachytherapy, I got injections and to numb my body. The best way I could explain it in the simplest terms is like an epidural.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so my bottom would be numb. So because of that, I couldn't sit up. I needed to lie down. Once I was sitting up, my head would hurt.
Mm-hmm.
But sure enough, on that Saturday morning, I got on a flight and I went home because I thought it would be my last birthday with him since he was turning 18,
Mm-hmm.
but not his last birthday with me. So I made it home. When I got home, I bravely drove my car from the airport and I drove to the house to these kids. Those kids cried. And my younger son, Joshua, he looked at me because nobody knew I was coming. Nobody. He
Mm-hmm.
looked at me and he said, "Mommy, you're alive." And he was touching me. I was like, "Mommy, is that really you?" And it was at
Mm-hmm.
that point it occurred to me that, while I was busy fighting this cancer and fighting everything else that had happened, and my kids thought I would never come back. And I came back. I fought cancer. I beat it. By the time I left Guyana, I was completely cancer free, um, according to all the tests and according to everything. And I still say to those, Cindy, that I fought so hard for my children. I fought so hard because I knew depression. I fought so hard because I knew I never wanted to go back into that place of depression again to get me to the point of being suicidal. I fought so hard because I knew what the flip side
Would be.
to not fighting was. So I
Mm-hmm.
fought. I
Yeah.
fought. So I came back in March. On the, I think in May, I had my first divorce hearing. So that was
Wow.
me.
In the midst of everything you're going through, you're gonna get a divorce.
So that was that.
God, I need to get some tissue.
So so that was that. But as far as I was concerned, there was a sense of normalcy. I had fought and I had won. As far as I was concerned, I had at that point experienced every level of pain a human being can experience. So that takes us to May. Fast forward to August. Um, I'm I was the nurse at Sandals. I was on call at the Halcyon Resort. So it meant I slept on the property.
Mm-hmm.
About 4 a.m., I realized the electricity went. Um, I heard the ambulance and the fire engine go up. I was like, okay, something happened. At 7 minutes past 6, my phone rang, but I'm on call, so there's nothing wrong. So I answered the phone. And the same time I answered the phone, I'm getting off the bed because if your phone rings at that time, you know it's time to get dressed
Mm-hmm.
to attend to some emergency at work. And the person on the other end said to me, "What is your car number plate?" Said what the car number plate was. And he said to me,
Breathe.
he
Just
told
breathe.
me where the car was. He said something else. And he asked me my son's name. And the nurse in me, putting everything I heard in the morning, the ambulance, the electricity going off. Now, the nurse in me knows if your child is in the emergency room, a nurse would call you, a doctor would call you, not a police officer. I said to the police officer, "Is he dead?" And the police officer told me where the accident was. And I told him I was coming. I still didn't believe the man. I called I called Cyrus. I called my son's father. I called him. I said to him, "Where is Chaz?" And he said to me, "Chaz is in his room." I said to him, "Go downstairs and wake up Chaz for me." He I guess he was early. He wasn't sure what was happening. He went, he said to me, "Chaz is not there."
So let
I
me get
told
that
him
straight. Let's get that straight. So at that point, Chaz was not living with you. He was living.
I was at work. I was
Okay.
on call.
Okay.
I'm on call at the hotel. Um, the house, our house is in Babonneau.
Mm-hmm.
Chaz is home. In my
Mm-hmm.
head, Chaz is home. Chaz had my
Okay.
car. Chaz is home.
Mm-hmm.
So he said to me, "Chaz isn't there." I said to him, "The police just called. There's been an accident. Chaz is dead." Sarah said to me, "What nonsense are you talking about? What? Make it make sense." At that point, I tried to be the nurse. I got out of the hotel room, um, went downstairs, and I was just walking to the front of the resort. And there was this guy from water sports, Johan. He saw me. Obviously, he drove and he saw the accident.
Mm-hmm.
He said to me, "Nurse, let's go." And Cindy, I thought cancer treatment was hard. I thought thyroid disease was hard. I thought depression was hard. I thought every bad experience was hard.
Not
I
as hard
got
as this
to
one.
this, I got to the accident site just after the Dame Poulet Louise school on the Union Highway.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked up and I saw my car. Well, I saw something. As I looked, I saw a hearse. I saw them putting a body bag into it. The doctor who was there, Dr. Felicia, we actually went to primary school, we went to Bocage Primary School together. Wayne, he walked to me and I said to him, Wayne, did you see the person? At that point, I'm at
You
that
in
point, let me
shock.
tell I'm wearing pajamas, no panty, no bra. I don't even know how that happened. I don't know what happened, right? Is when afterwards I realized that, like long after the fact. But I'm just telling you what my frame of mind is at this time. I want to see the child. The police is telling me that there's live electricity. I cannot see him. I'm just seeing the bag going into the hearse. And I just look around and it just drives and it goes. I cannot explain to you what I felt. I cannot explain to you how I felt. I cannot explain. But Cindy, I will tell you this, and I would say this to the audience. If I had not known depression, if I had not previously been so depressed to the point of being suicidal, that point when my son died, it would have happened. That there was rock bottom. Um, that was a Saturday morning. I remember going through the motions. I remember lying down on the road. I don't know how I got to be lying down on the road. I remember looking up and I saw his father coming. If you know anything about this man is always well dressed, always well put together. I saw this man coming with a wrong side shirt, an old track pants. I don't know where he picked it up. And I don't know what he had on his feet. And he came and he said to me something to the effect of, what are we doing here? What happened? Where is Chaz? And I don't know what I said to him. Saw my mother. I've known my mother. I'm 46 years old. By then I was what, maybe 43, 42. I have never seen my mother cry. That day my mother cried. That day my mother cried. My mother cried. My mother cried. My mother cried. And that broke me. My mother was there crying. Daddy was there crying. By then, a number of people had gathered. Fast forward. So I don't see this child until this is Saturday. I don't see this child until the postmortem on Tuesday,
Oh
where I'm
my
supposed
God.
to go.
You hold up. You
I
never
wasn't
get to
allowed to
church
see
to see your
him.
baby.
They didn't allow me to. So we get into the mortuary at the hospital, and his father and I go in because we're supposed to identify the body.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't eat anything from the accident until then. I said until I saw Chaz, I'm not eating. And I remember walking in, and the police officer was there, and there was my Chaz on the table waiting for a postmortem. His father couldn't do it. He couldn't even identify the body. He just left. Fast forward again to the day of the funeral. The morning of the funeral, I went to the funeral home. I fixed my child's hair. I fixed his face. I dressed him. He was a national cricketer. I dressed him in his cricket regalia with his underwear, his socks, his whites, his gloves. I'm doing this. And my cousin, Pastor John, who was preaching the funeral the afternoon, he's standing in the door and looking at me. And I could almost tell he's saying, this is not happening. Sammy's not doing this.
listen, I am sitting here with goosebumps on my skin because my child died in my hands, and that put me rock bottom. I literally watched my daughter took her last breath. So for you to have heard that your son died and you did not see him 3 days afterwards, you saw the car,
And
you
when we
saw.
saw and when we saw him, they said we couldn't touch him. I know he was dead, but he was my son. I just wanted to hold that child and kiss him.
Yes.
I dressed him, I prepared him, ensured that they put him in the casket properly, fixed the casket, and I left. So this is like 8:30 in the morning. The funeral was at 11. I went home quickly, quickly, quickly. I drove home, and by 9 o'clock, sis dressed and ready to go. So I probably got back to the funeral parlor about 9:30. When I got there, it felt as if I didn't know the funeral was happening. It felt as if I had not seen that child that morning. I had not dressed him. Cried. I cried.
You were
Broke.
numb. Like you were, I
I
think
broke.
you were
I
working
was
in
in
overdrive.
autopilot because it needed to be done. So I did it and I
Yes.
wanted it done properly. I'm told when I looked on the at the funeral home, there's something where there's the name on the board, and I'm struggling with the lady asking her why is my child's name on the board.
Oh my
I
goodness.
know that I'm told that I drove to the funeral home with a car. It wasn't until after the funeral I remembered that the car was outside the funeral parlor. The key was in it, so somebody took it and brought it up for me. But Cindy, when the funeral was actually going on, it was at that point I understood rock bottom. There is not now, my best friend, me and her, we usually have a little chuckle about this because when things bother me, when people hurt me, anything that happens at this point in life, I keep saying I have buried a whole child. And to talk about Chaz was life. Chaz was energy. Chaz was bigger than life itself.
Mm.
Which 18-year-old child attracts 5,000 people to a funeral? This child was grand. The funeral was at the stadium. Chaz was bigger than life. Chaz loved completely. To know Chaz was to love him. So I've learned. So even before I get to that point, I remember standing next to the casket with his brother and his father and realizing that this is final. I cannot fix it. It's final. And it was at that point I promised myself that I would never let anything bother me so much to go back to where I was. So it took a lot for me to be this strong. It took a lot for me to allow myself to be this vulnerable with the world. It took a lot for me to allow myself to be this transparent. It, it has taken a lot. Life has knocked me about. I've been burnt, I've been flooded, I've been hurt, I've survived everything, I've even survived death. So, anybody listening to me now, what I want, and my thing, I remain grateful for everything. I make it a point not to complain anymore. I think since after cancer treatment, I just don't complain. I'm just grateful. Gratitude is a must. Gratitude is a must. And I
Ooh.
just want to encourage everybody, no matter what happens, no matter what life throws at you, keep going. Drag yourself if you have to. Pull yourself. Kick yourself forward if you have to, but keep going. The problem usually comes when we stop, when we overthink, when we worry. No matter what, just keep going. Just keep going. Just keep going. That's it, Cindy. I have no more to say. Just keep going.
I am speechless. I make it a point before I used to ask the guests to tell me about themselves. And I make it a point now from the very a couple of shows ago, I'm going like, I am not going to ask the guests no details. Just I want to hear your story. I want to be here the same time the viewers are hearing. And it took me a lot not to really boohoo. I was crying, but I didn't boohoo because I felt every bit of your pain. And I can tell you, the audience, if you see the amount of when we're done, go back. You got so many comments up here. So many encouraging comments. One of the things that Maria said, Nurse Cepal, you have always made a great impact on my life with what you have been through. You are very you're inspiration to me. Another person said, you are an amazing person. You know this. And that is Danielle Evans. This person said, you're a superwoman. Definition of a superwoman. But Nettie says, you're giving you hugs. People are saying, wow. I'm going like, and these are the sentiments that I feel. You, a lot of my shows, I would talk, but I kept quiet because I I have been through a lot. I have been through a lot. But what you described there to me and to the viewers, I don't know if I'll be able to. And I pray that God continues to give you the strength to inspire people. Let me tell you, the slogan for my show is let your voice be heard. And today you allowed your voice to be heard. Stories like yours, experiences like yours are what people need to hear to know that there is hope,
There
to
is.
know that they are not alone in that struggle. Me, when my daughter passed away, I could not go. They asked me I cremated her. Before they cremated her, they asked me if I wanted to see her. I said no. They asked me if I wanted an open casket. I could not do it. And for years, it's been, I think, 8 years. This year will be 9 years that my daughter passed away. And I still see her little face in my eyes when she closed her eyes and took her last breath. I still see it. And after everything was done, when they took her out of my arms and they went and they bathed her and everything, and they took her, I dressed her like you dress your son. I dressed her and they took her to that place in the hospital. I came home, I was a shell of a person. I just left everybody in the house and I went outside and I just sat outside looking at the trees and just cried. I cried. The day of the funeral, I didn't want to go. I did not want to go to their funeral. I lingered. Because, like you said, it would have been final. That was final. And it was after I buried my daughter. Then I started to drink. I had been suicidal before, but it was then I really started to drink. I turned to alcohol. I was drinking like I was going crazy to numb the pain. And so, as a mother, to hear that you went through so much thyroid disease, your husband, I think at the time, your house got, oh my gosh, then you got diagnosed with cervical cancer, then your son, you had to deal with all of this in such a suspect. I'm telling you, if there was a medal to be given, you would have gotten it today. And I still give you one, eh? You right now, you are a warrior queen. So Jane the Crab as a warrior queen. Oh my goodness. I heard Kadiana's story. I heard Nymphia's story. And to see your story, and it's just almost like to hear your story, it's like I was in your place. I'm listening to you and I'm seeing myself dressing your son. It's almost like, I was there with you and I'm going like, would I even be able to do that? Would I even be able to? I know my daughter was a baby, but you spent years with your son. You watched him grow. You watched him become a
Mhm.
young man. And oh, God has strengthened you beyond measures.
The Lord gives grace. He
Yes.
does.
And
He
continue
does.
being an inspiration to people. Continue being an inspiration. So, what are you doing now to advocate for, what, if you don't mind me asking, what was it? Was it he went into a pool, and I know if it's too much to ask, answer
He
don't.
fell asleep apparently and he crashed into a pool. Yeah. And he broke his neck. Yeah.
I would tell you this, for people who have not experienced it, losing a child is one of the worst things that could happen to a mother or a father. Losing a child. When a when a man, and I keep saying that, when when somebody lose their wife, what do they call them? A widower. When you lose your husband, a widow.
Mhm.
When a child loses a mother, they become orphans. But how do they call people like us who lost children? There's not a term for it. And I doubt no matter what word they come in the dictionary, they'll be able to find a word suitable enough for this.
It's true. It's true.
You are the personification and definition of strength, of resilience, of courage.
God has kept me, Cindy. God has kept me. And I, if you spend time with me, I'm like a whole bubble of joy, like all the time now. I
Listen,
spend
I
so much
feed on
time
your
being
joys. I'm looking at your WhatsApp. I'm going, oh my gosh, she's jumping rope. This is the
just I just to be around me anywhere. I don't have time.
yes,
I have one mood. I have one mood. I think from the time I buried Chaz, I have one
mm,
mood.
happiness.
If you see me angry, I'm hungry.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
But
that'll do that to
outside of that,
anybody.
yeah, I have one mood. You never have to guess your position with me. I just have one mood. I just stay in one place now. I'm just God has kept me, and I remain grateful for everything, and I'm just thankful. I want to thank you for having me tonight. Thank you for allowing me to share my story. But audience is after 11,
Mm-hmm. Itabu ale
and
domi.
sis has worked a 12-hour shift.
I know. Well, I'm gonna tell you this. The pleasure was all mine. And if ever I was
And
inspired by something, I was inspired by your story. I've had so many people come up here and give their story, and everybody's story is different. And I'm telling you,
yeah,
everybody's story has an impact on me, but you have been through a lot. And I'm telling you, girl, keep putting on a fight, keep making people happy, keep that happiness. I looking at your status every day. Guess what? For me to see the bubbly things you put on, let me tell you, this was one of my this is one of my favorite things of you, photos of you. I love it. I think I'm going to keep it to myself. Where is it? I love this.
oh, that was my photo shoot. Um, the colored one.
Yes.
That was my photo shoot this year. I well, I've been in the UK for what, nine months.
Mm.
Um, and I just wanted to do a photo shoot.
Hey, you girl, it's all worth it, okay? It's all worth
I'm
it.
just grateful. I'm just grateful. I'm just grateful. I'm just grateful. I'm just living with an attitude of gratitude now. That's it. That's just it.
Yes. And that's the correct way to say it. Somebody suggested that you write a book. And I think you
Oh, you
should.
know how many times I've heard that? You know how many times I've heard that? You know how oh my gosh, you know how many times I've heard that? I, I'm probably just too lazy.
Mm. Okay, we'll talk later. But thank you
I
so much
probably
for
need
being a
somebody to help me. I'm just
yes.
lazy.
Thank you so much for being vulnerable. Thank you so
You're
much
welcome.
for your bravery. And I can tell you, you have been, I'm sure people who listen to us tonight and who's gonna view this afterwards. Listen, anybody or share this with, tell them to listen to the entire show. Because if they miss anything, they're not gonna get the full story. Watch the entire video because this has been such, whew, I don't have the words to say, but you had me crying. You had my heart jumping. I'm going like, what is you going to say next? But thank you so much for being on Poetry and Perspective with Placid. This is a place where you let your voice be heard, and I appreciate you and I thank you so much. Have a good night. I will talk to you
Thank you.
soon. Okay,
All
yeah,
right.
have a good night. Okay, all right.
All right.
Okay, bye bye. Listen, guys. Thank you all so much for staying with us, and thank you so much. London is 11:15 in London, 11:06 in London. Listen, guys, this was such an amazing story. I have no words to just even say anything else, but God has given this lady, Jehovah God, how you want to call it, Jehovah Jireh, the Almighty God. He has given this lady the power beyond what is normal to cope. He was there with her, and we should take a page from her book. She's happy. She has made me happy just listening and watching her, listening to her tell the story. So guys, no matter what we go through, no matter what circumstances, how difficult it is, always find the positives in it and let our experiences drive us, move us to want to continue and to have an impact in other people's lives. Like this lady, I'm sure she had an impact on your life. So once again, have a good night. Those who are suffering with cancer, I applaud you all. If you have not done your screening for your pap smear, I would encourage you, the ladies, to go ahead and get your pap smear screening, okay? Because it is important. This is where you are going to know that whether or not something deeper is going on there. This was Poetry and Perspective with Placid Global Link. I am so thankful for you guys being on here tonight, and call somebody, let somebody, if you're afraid to talk, call somebody, let somebody know that you need help, you need a little encouragement. Until next time, have an amazing weekend, guys. Don't do too much, be safe. I love you guys. And if any of y'all have a story, you're in the UK and you guys have a story to tell, please send me a message, okay? Please send me a message, or you could send me an email. Let me see if I can find it to put it on here. Send me an email. Is it okay? I'm gonna put it on it. Send me a message, or send me a message on Messenger, or you can send me an email on Rise to Prosperity 0617 at gmail.com. I think it's there somehow, but I'm gonna put it on the chat for you to see. Until next time, guys, have a good night. And I will talk to you all soon. Reach out to me. Anybody you have a compelling message, because a compelling story, I am here to help. Once again, this was Poetry and Perspective with Placid. See you all soon. Bye. Okay.